We set out to find something unique, something where we're just not selling hours, just not competing dollar for dollar with cabinets, having some things unique, which can be the product, the process, or how you're selling it. And we try to bring a little of all of that together. We try to get some uniqueness in the way that we're selling, a sitting down consultation, go in the living room, talk to them about what their plans are for their house, how long are they going to keep it, things like that. I say try to find ways to differentiate yourself, and there's lots of different ways to do that, even if you're selling the same product, to differentiate how you offer, how you do things.
Paul Unger is the founder of Unger Powder Coatings. Started as a small operation, has grown into a trusted name in the industry. He's built his business on precision, craftsmanship, and consistency. He's a business owner who knows how to turn hard work and reputation into growth. Welcome back to another episode of The Pursuit of Purpose. My name is Chris Kiefer, and today I am with Paul Unger from Unger Powder Coatings, and he is based in Caldwell, Idaho. And I have an interesting, our paths crossed at an interesting time in my career. And I have some of Paul's cabinets in my garage. And I also helped market and sell these cabinets for a while in my previous role. So first of all, Paul, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. I just got to tour your facility finally after 5 years or however long it's been. And it's pretty amazing to see what you guys are able to produce. And if people saw the pictures, I'll put some links down, but the quality and what these cabinets look like are just incredible comparative to what you could get for your shop or garage. So what I want to talk about today, Paul, is just kind of your career and scaling this thing, and then see if you have any wisdom that other service businesses or entrepreneurs might be able to glean from. So thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate the invite. Looking forward to it.
So give us a rundown of powder coating and manufacturing. What's the short version on how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I've pretty much most of my career had small businesses, enjoy that type of work, and they've been technology based. But I went and did a large project for a insurance company and went to corporate America for 7 years. After that, pretty much for culture change, I wanted to get back into owning my own business. So my brother is a woodworker and just a master craftsman, and my technology, we came together and found this powder coating of wood, which is pretty unique. There's only about 5 or 6 companies in the country that really powder coat a lot of wood. And it's a technology that's evolving, and it's also woodworking. So we kind of came together, formed this company about 5 years ago, and have never looked back.
That's crazy. I didn't realize that you had the technology background. When you say it's like corporate world, what type of stuff were you doing?
Well, I was setting up call centers and phone systems for a lot of companies. I set up a call center for Blue Cross of Idaho and ended up staying there for 7 years managing it after that. So that was my stint in large business. So after that, I went back to my own businesses.
So first of all, because I'd heard of the term powder coating, but can you explain to everybody what is powder coating in general and what makes powder coating wood uniquely challenging or different than powder coating? Like powder coating metal is the most common thing, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, what does it mean to powder coat something? How is it different than painting it or other options?
Yeah, I looked at really the evolution of metal powder coating. And ever since that technology was developed, and basically instead of applying liquids, it's applying a powder, and the particles are charged and they attract to the materials. And with metal, you can put a magnetic force through the metal and it will attract the charged particles, kind of like static electricity. Things cling to your clothes. You shoot the powder on and it actually wraps around the whole product and goes on both sides. With wood, this has always been a challenge, but what we were looking for is a coating that is uniform, and it is much harder than paint. The industry has really gone to powder on metals, and it's just starting to go to powder on woods, but it's evolving. So our challenge there is how do we get electricity flowing through wood? It's a big challenge. We buy wood with 5 to 6% moisture in the wood. We have infrared lights that heat this up as it comes through our ovens and pulls enough moisture to the surface. Then we can get charged particles to attract to it just like metal. So we're kind of copying the metal model, but we're using some different techniques to get electricity through wood.
And what type of powder is this? Like,
It's specially made for wood. Powders usually cure at pretty high temperatures, 400 to 500 degrees. We can't do that with wood. So we have a special powder. PPG is our manufacturer right now, and they make us a powder that cures at 260 degrees. So, get too hot and you're going to start wood on fire. It's a low cure temperature, and we don't really even heat the wood up to that temperature. We're using a infrared product heater that just heats the surface, so we can get the moisture out, get the electricity through, and get it cured. By the time it comes out of the oven, it's ready to ship, all in one
mm,
process.
you're producing a lot of cabinets, and it's crazy to see this. Like the line is the circular, line that you're putting stuff on. But it seems like you are utilizing the space very, very well for the volume that you guys are producing out of there.
We have a good crew, studied quite a bit of lean manufacturing. Some of that has gone away after COVID, trying to get, you just need to get the parts. It's not that you need to get them just in time, but really looking at the principles of lean, trying to make sure there's the fewest motions possible to get the product cut, coated, stacked, and shipped. And then the most important part is making the quality so that it's something that customers want. So putting that all together, yeah, it's quite a process.
And something that I think is interesting that I don't know how much you researched or thought about this versus like, because I remember when I was back at Webfoot, like the early days of the conversation of like, ooh, there's this company that does cabinets. We're talking to them. We might be doing this. When you decided to leave the corporate world, were you like, walk me through the decisions of like, you're experimenting, you're trying things. Okay, we have something. And then the decision of like, wait, what if we just make the stuff and then we teach people to sell it and install it? And now that opens you up to basically ship these anywhere in the country. And you can get really good at dialing in the fabrication, which is very technical. And then you're able to service a much bigger area than if you tried to do all the installs yourself.
Well, definitely, there's a lot to unpack there, but we started out really wanting to coat wood for other manufacturers, kind of like the metal industry setup. Hey, we put out a shingle and said we're ready to do this. Unfortunately, we underestimated the adoption rate of when companies are understanding this, furniture makers, other companies. So there wasn't a lot of business there. So we kind of had to revise our model. We spent a lot of time perfecting how to powder coat the wood. But once we had that done, we had to get some business. And we looked at different industries and where we could really started experimenting locally, what we could sell, what the price point was, and how we could sell it. But then we also looked at an industry that's growing. Garage cabinets was one of those that's really expected to grow tremendously. 10 years ago, you might put a few things in your garage, some racks, maybe something on the wall, but housing is getting so expensive, they're now furnishing a garage to almost be part of a home. So they're willing to spend some money once they have that square footage to really trick out their garage. And that's really the space we wanted to get in. How do we get in a high value space there and produce something customers want?
And then as far as the like experimentation of, I'm sure you had to validate, can we even, how easy it is it to teach someone else to do this? How are we going to get the designs, the CAD files? Like, how did you balance the idea to go after it with the logistical problems that you have to overcome to figure that out?
Well, in the beginning, it was a lot of hard work just to kind of, pick up the pieces. When you're small enough, you can come in on the weekends and, redo things, figure things out. But we really had to get process in place to scale this up. And we got a lot of help from our partners, our installers out in the field, the companies we went to, doing installation videos. They learned with us and helped us make videos, as I know you were a part of that, and really feed a good feedback loop. So if we had something that wasn't packaged right or put right, making sure we're listening to the guys out in the field and how do we make their job a little easier. And that really came back to put in process, which later went into technology. So every time an order comes in, the cabinets are the right size, the color is right, the feet are the right color because we package all the components with it. So we kind of had to get some technology to run the process.
What was the most challenging piece of that?
The most challenging piece is probably getting the business. How do you go out there? And we chose floor covering companies doing the garage floors. We knew they were in just hundreds of garages, and we knew if we could get 4 or 5% of those interested in cabinets, we had a good market. And then we would expand that to more companies and go that route. So that was our first challenge. How do we get a basically unknown product, because we really have to get in front of somebody to sell it. We need to feel the product, take a look at it, and then it kind of sells itself. But it's hard to do that over the internet. So we had to really find those companies that were willing to take a risk with us and then develop the market from there.
How, like, I'm trying to think, in your opinion, growing this like a fabrication business and a manufacturing business compared to another service company, like we work with a lot of painters. What do you feel like? And I don't know how much you know about service versus this, but you're still servicing. You have a much larger overhead costs of equipment that you're maintaining. But what do you feel like the most interesting challenges to solve have been in growing this, and how that compares to like customer satisfaction and whatnot, especially since you're sort of once removed from the direct interaction now?
Yes, kind of started at the top end sales, and then I'll go back to shipping. Getting they're very heavy, getting these products out to the field in without any damage is a packaging, I won't say nightmare, but a challenge. So getting the right kind of packaging around all of this so we can ship once and they can get every part, because one or two parts can stop an installation and it's just extremely frustrating. So that was a big challenge to find the right company, get the right kind of packaging, and bundle it up so tight they can't damage it. So that was probably it. After that, there's bottlenecks in as far as getting processing through. One of those is our CNC machine. So once we were fairly new with the CNC, we are using commercial software that we have developed inputs for our customers to directly input cabinet sizes to us so we can cut. So that sped up that process, but basically different bits and different things that allow us to cut out a lot faster was one of the things. And then the second thing was the line of powder. That's the second bottleneck. How do we keep that running and unload while it's running and really process at 100% efficiency?
I'm guessing that when you're thinking of continuing to grow, one thing that would be challenging, like in the painting company, it's like, oh, we sold another $500,000 worth of paint for the summer. Let's go find a couple more guys. But for you guys, it's like, okay, we're reaching capacity. If we expand, you get a bigger shop, you add more your like ovens or whatever, we get a second CNC machine. You have this massive step. You can't just like incrementally grow into it. You have to commit that we're going to actually utilize this. And so, yeah, that's just a much different way of thinking about growth. You've got like, I'm assuming you make yourself as uncomfortable as possible to be like, okay, we definitely need another one. But then you still open up all this new capacity that you have to figure out a way to utilize. And so, yeah, I'm just thinking that seems like a really hard problem.
It is, and there's some real incentives for manufacturing in the USA right now, and I think there's probably going to be some more financing and things like that coming along besides tax incentives to build some additional facility. So that's in the plans. But before that, there's some things we can do to really improve. And one of the things, we have a 5 minute cure. So our line goes at about 4 feet per minute, which is pretty slow. By adding another oven, we can increase that by about 30% because it has a heat up as it comes in and there's only so much cure space. So we can add some oven capacity in our current facility and almost get to at least 50% more capacity through our ovens. And then on the CNC, we're doing some things to speed up what we're cutting. Countertops and other things can be cut manually, even though we like cutting them on the CNC. But we have some things we can offload and do with hand routers, doing the backs of just square designs and that. It really is, there's not a lot of value in a CNC if you're just running around the edge of something. So we're really ready to push quite a bit at the seams without going to the next factory, but that is a major expense, building.
Yeah, it's interesting. So then I'm assuming that there's like the minimum amount of equipment that you need to put on a line to operate it. So when you jump to the next line, you would max out and add more ovens or whatever on the current one, but you could add a second one that's slower than your like optimal one if you wanted to.
Yeah, and when I'm adding more ovens, picture a line of an overhead conveyor, and I'm not doing another line of powder coating. I'm just putting another oven on the end so I can speed up the chain.
Yeah.
So then I just go faster through and I can do a lot more because it's going pretty slow now. So that's the first step. But after that, there's some additional technology now to speed up, pull things off the line while it's still running and put it on while it's running so it never stops. Right now we're stopped about 30% of the day loading and unloading, and we can get around that with some new technology.
Also, you're making me think that I didn't realize you're like if you have a rectangular door, at a certain point it's too tall, so then you got to go sideways, and that's like killer because you just shrunk, like the amount of time to get that door through just quadrupled. Instead of having it be a 2 foot door, now it's 8 feet long, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and we have to do that. So that is a challenge.
Any other like insights or systems, processes, disciplines that have helped you not lose quality in the process?
We're always in a hurry to get things done, but there's always time to do training. New people need to be trained, and it's like, oh, I think he's got it down. You really got to train, make sure they're trained, and then verify training. Because quality, that's really the biggest thing we're doing. We're selling a product that's higher end. We're trying to compete with price within 10% of other providers that aren't really producing the same quality we are. Because we powder coat, we can do a different construction method where every joint is dadoed into the next piece. We're a little bit more on our the way we're manufacturing, but we make up for it in really when we go out and sell. We'll go to places where the bottom shelf has been knocked out because they put ammunition in there or something like that. We've never had that happen, and we can really sell our quality by talking about our process.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy, just an entrepreneur's breakfast, and he does kitchen cabinet fab manufacturing,
Mm-hmm.
and I just was like small talking, like, oh, I worked for this company and we did these powder coated wood, and he was like, oh, I think he had either talked to you or he was aware because there's not a lot of people that were doing this, but he said, and I'm curious your take on this. His perspective was that it's like it is a better product. He was like 100% it's better, but it's overkill compared to what you need in a shop, which I think is kind of like what you just said. It's like, well, overkill depends on the person that's buying it and what they plan on using it for. But what's any other things to say on like why, as opposed to all the other options that you have, what do you think is really unique, or why do you think people want the powder coated option as opposed to, I don't even remember what they're called, but he was saying that some of the other types of prefabricated stuff that you can get with coatings or coverings over the wood is
Melamine,
like,
yes.
yeah. So anyways, I'm curious your thoughts on that.
It really is a different texture and feel when you put this in somebody's hands. And that's really how we sell it. We just take the samples out, let them touch and feel it. They have it is a higher end product. So we go to companies that are selling the higher end floors and things like that. And somebody who's, spent a fair amount of money on their home, they want their garage to look nice. And yes, you can get other cabinets that are probably less expensive, but I mean, there's a reason we have all 5-star reviews. People that spend the money to put these in love them, and it's part of their home. They see it every day when they drive in their garage. All their stuff's put away. It's a feel good product. You can go buy shelves at Costco for a tenth the price, and you can store your stuff. But the home is, I mean, it's such valuable square footage that people are now saying, let me take my garage and kind of expand. A lot of them have other events in their garage, other things going on. So it's part of the home.
Yeah. Is there a product that is more, or are you aware of a method that is more costly or a bigger investment than powder coated wood
There's
for
some,
garage cabinets?
yeah, there's some metal, some
Hmm.
pure metal custom products that, are kind of aimed at the car enthusiasts and things like that, that put some amazing personalization in the products and things like that, which that's one of the things we're looking to do, getting some different logos, maybe some licensing to get some sports logos or things like that, or
Oh, to ingrain it in
car
the, like,
logos.
carve it
Yeah,
out.
so
That'd be
because
cool.
car enthusiasts like their garage a lot, so we're looking into some things like that. But we're really, there's a lower tier line of cabinets and shelves that we don't try to compete with, and we encourage somebody if they're looking for that where to go to get them. But then when you get into the higher end, we're competitive on the pricing with a lot of the others, companies that are selling the melamine and that. And there's a lot of high humidity areas that like it because the products can be handle the humidity and can handle the water from the snow and things like that better than melamine. So we just sell on the value that we have.
Yeah. And to be clear, I'm like, I don't know if this person has ever seen and installed. Like, I wanted to be like, hey, you should come take a look at my garage. But it's like everybody comes over, and we actually have a shop that we, exactly like you said, we kind of turned it into like our outdoor living room slash indoor sort of. But like in the summertime, we roll up the garage door and we got a big projector with a screen. And so we have all of our garage stuff hidden behind these beautiful cabinets, and everybody is, it's like the most commented on thing in the shop because there's nothing else to comment on in the shop. But we have got the coated floor, and then it's like a very, like, it takes up a third of the wall space. But yeah, it's an incredible thing, and I appreciate you sharing just kind of how you stumbled in. I am curious, had you or your brother powder coated anything prior to this?
Nothing. And that's probably an advantage because the metal people that came in to give us advice and the suppliers, none of that advice was good. We had to kind of throw all that out and start over from scratch. I think it's better that we hadn't.
It's like the, I don't know what they call that, but the outside perspective's advantage. The naivety is actually a strength because you don't have all this other stuff that's not relevant that you're comparing to, you know?
Yeah, it allowed us to try just about anything, and that's what we did.
That's awesome. So, what is your plan for Unger Powder Coatings? What's the goal?
Well, we have about 7 active dealers right now that are selling the product, and we've got 4 or 5 more in the pipeline. We've got some new software that I think's leading edge as far as garage cabinets, allowing them to go take pictures and come to proposal within an hour of a custom proposal. So I think the goal is to keep growing and eventually get into a new facility and let it go, keep going.
That's awesome. How do you find your installers?
Yeah, like our partners in the around the country, about half of them have found us. Several in Florida and Texas because of the humidity. In New Orleans, they actually looking for powder coated because they've had problems with melamine, and so we've been able to capitalize on that and get some good business there. And other than that, we're talking to flooring companies, and seeing if they're interested in adding to their business. They have the leads. They have, if they're in garages doing floors, it does take a bit to get geared up to do this, but we make it pretty easy. It's more or less gearing up on the sales and business side because we send a full package of products. But things like getting a heister and something to unload the pallets and things like that, there's some investment, and so they've got to really want to move into this product line. But we're finding companies that do.
Do you feel like do most companies have a dedicated cabinet rep, or do they just add it in as another offering to the coating that the rep is selling, or is it a mixture? Or...
They've been adding it in and being pretty successful with that. To do an add-on. Some of them have a technician who's installed them, who then follows up and makes sure everything is done right. So that's a pretty good model where these salesmen that are talking to a lot of different individuals about their floors find a few that want cabinets. Sometimes they'll send somebody that's a little more technical back in to finalize it.
If you were giving advice to someone, an entrepreneur that's growing and trying to get out of selling their time, what would be your takeaways from your journey recently?
Well, we set out to find something unique. I mean, something where we're just not, selling hours, just not competing dollar for dollar with cabinets. So I think having some things unique, which can be the product, the process, or, how you're selling it. And we try to bring a little of all of that together. We try to get some uniqueness in the way that we're selling, a sitting down consultation, go in the living room, talk to them about what their plans are for their house, how long are they going to keep it, things like that. So I would say try to find ways to differentiate yourself. And there's lots of different ways to do that, even if you can be selling the same product, but differentiate how you offer it and how you do things.
3 book recommendations.
That's a tough one. One of them's old, Good to Great. I mean, it's still a business book on how to not seek perfection, but seek the right level of greatness that will allow you to, keep producing it at a cost wise. So that's probably the biggest one I have. A lot of lean manufacturing is just reading on LinkedIn. They have great training programs on LinkedIn that allow you to really improve the business. So I'd say that's probably the two I go to.
Nice. I have read Good to Great. It's been a while, but Jim Collins is like, I've heard him on a couple podcasts recently. Also, I don't know if you've ever like heard him speak or how he thinks, but he is like a avid researcher. He just loves researching, which why books are so good is because he has a team of people that help him compile the data and the research and then he presents it in the stories and stuff. But very, very interesting stuff.
Keeps it interesting. Yeah.
By the way, if you like, this is my latest podcast that I've just been obsessed with. They've been covering a lot of tech companies, but there's a podcast called Acquired.
Okay.
I don't know if you listen to podcasts. Have you heard of that one?
I have not. I'll check it out.
But they've gone over these mega companies that we're all familiar with, like Google, Facebook. They covered Costco about a year and a half ago. But it's like literally they will research for 2 or 3 months and comb through interviews and talk to family members, like anyone they can get access to. And the episode for Facebook was 6 hours long. So it's like a book that you're listening to, but it's like, anyways, all the tech stuff I'm very interested in, but it's like, if you enjoy the Jim Collins stuff, it's a great podcast. Okay. Last one, movie recommendation. I don't know if there are a movie or a show recommendation for us.
It's got to be The Shack.
The Shack. Is that a movie? It's a book, isn't it? Or is it based on a book
too? But you got to watch the movie too.
I don't know. I have read the book. I have not read or seen the movie, so I will do that. And then what's your preferred method of contact if someone wants to get in touch with you?
I still am in phone touch with most everyone. So I keep my phone on and respond to things quickly. I like email works well too.
You want to just tell what's your email and phone for anyone that wants to reach out?
Yeah, probably the best way is paul@ungerpowdercoating.com. That's UNGER powdercoating.com.
Awesome. Well, Paul, appreciate your time today. This was fun. I always like picking entrepreneurs' brains, and Thank you again for the great cabinets that we have, and hope to see you around soon.
Well, I appreciate working with you on that project. It was a lot of fun, and thanks for having me.
All right. See ya.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening. My name is Chris Kiefer, and my mission is to champion the relentless pursuit of purpose. And what that means to me is to be an example, a champion, someone that is in the trenches, working and showing and winning and trying and failing in how to pursue a deeper and more meaningful life with the people that I love, with my kids, with my friends, with our family, and also just be a champion and example of entrepreneurship and following my passion and doing what I believe I'm called to on this earth. And so if that inspires you in some way, please share this episode. If you want, like, subscribe, share, whatever, do all the stuff. It means the world to me to get this message and get these guests that I have out there. And if you're interested in any of the book recommendations or looking up other episodes, the movie list, you can visit my website, chriskiefer.com, for all the details on the show. And also check out the Boolean review software, as well as the Boolean automation consulting company that I own for home service businesses. So thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.